Hello everyone. So here again I am with a different concept. Today we are going to talk about HCF. So what is HCF? It is the highest common factor. One way for finding HCF is by prime factorization method. So we can find out the prime factors and we can find out the common factors. But sometimes what happens, the numbers are too big or we cannot find the common prime factors very easily. So then we go for another method, which is the division method. So we are going to find the HCF by division method, or sometimes it is called as the long division method too. We need to follow certain steps finding for two numbers. So first step, divide the larger number among the two by smaller one. Second, now divide the divisor in the previous case by remainder. Then we need to repeat the process of dividing preceding number till we get the remainder as 0, and the last divisor is the required HCF of the given numbers. Let's take few examples. So example 1. So we need to find the HCF of 25 and 60. Let's follow the steps. So smaller number is divisor and the larger number is dividend, and we need to divide. So 25 2 times 50, we get 10 here. Now this 10 becomes the divisor and the previous divisor becomes the dividend. So we have 2 times 20, then we have 5 here. Now again the previous divisor becomes the dividend. So 10 here and 2 times 10. So we get here the remainder as 0. So the HCF is the last divisor. So HCF is equal to 5. That's the answer. Let's take another example. So example 2. So find the HCF of 161 and 345. So again we'll follow the steps. The smaller number becomes the divisor and the larger number among the two becomes dividend. So this would go 2 times. We have 2 and 322. We get 3 and 2. Now 23 becomes the divisor and the previous divisor 161 becomes the dividend. So now this goes 7 times 161 and we get the remainder as 0. So therefore HCF is equal to the last divisor, which is 23. So that's the answer. Third example, find the HCF of 300 and 633. We'll follow the same steps. The smaller number becomes the divisor, larger number becomes the dividend, and we are going to divide. This goes 2 times, so we have 600 here. We get 33, and now the previous divisor becomes the dividend, and we have 9 times, so 7, 2 and 9, subtracting, we get 3 here, and the previous divisor becomes dividend, so 33, and 11 times we have, so we get 0. So therefore HCF is the last divisor is equal to 3. That's the answer. Example 4. Okay, find the HCF of 513 and 783. So we'll follow the same steps. The smaller number becomes the divisor and the larger number becomes the dividend. So we have by 1 time, so 513, subtracting, we get 0, 7 and 2. Then again this becomes the divisor and the previous divisor becomes the dividend. So we have 1 time 270, so 3 and 4, 2. Now this becomes the divisor and the previous divisor becomes the dividend. So we get again 1 time 243, subtracting, we have 7 and 2. Now this becomes the divisor and the previous divisor becomes the dividend. So now this goes 9 times, 3 and 24. The remainder is 0 here. So this is the last divisor. So HCF is equal to 27. That's the answer. Example 5. Find the HCF of 847 and 1650. Again we'll follow the same steps. The smaller number becomes the divisor and larger number becomes the dividend. So we have 1 time 847, subtracting, we get 3, 0 and 8. This becomes divisor and the previous divisor becomes the dividend. So we have 1 time again 803, subtracting, we get 4 and 4. So again this becomes divisor and the dividend is 803. So this goes 1 time 44, we get 6 and 3 and 3, then we get 8 times, so 2 and 35. So subtracting, we get 11, 44, so 4 times and 44. So this remainder is 0 here. So 11 is the HCF. Therefore HCF is equal to 11. That's the answer. Let's do one more. Example 6. So find the HCF of 2261 and 3059. Following the same steps, the smaller number becomes the divisor and the larger number is the dividend. So we have this as 1 time 2261, subtracting, we get 8, 9 and 7. This becomes divisor and 2261, the previous divisor, becomes the dividend. So this goes 2 times and we have 6, 9, 5 and 1. Subtracting, we get 5, 6 and 6. Now this becomes the divisor and 7, 9, 8. The previous divisor becomes the dividend. 1 time 665, 3, 3 and 1. Now dividing 2665, which was the previous divisor, and we get it 5 times 5, 6 and 6. So subtracting we get 0. So HCF therefore is 133. Now let's move to finding HCF of more than 2 numbers. So suppose if we have more than 2 numbers, then how we are going to find out. So find HCF of 2 numbers. Any 2 numbers we can find out. Second, then find HCF of the previous HCF and the third number. If more numbers, continue the second step. Let's continue doing the example. So example 7, find HCF of 50, 125 and 180. So first we'll take the first 2 numbers 50 and 125 and follow the same steps. So 50 is my smaller number and 125 becomes the dividend. So 2 times 100 we get 25 after subtracting, and dividing I get 2 here. This is 50. Subtracting we get 0. So here HCF is 25. Now HCF of 25 and third number. So 180. So now again the smaller number and the greater number. 7 times we get 175. Subtracting, here we get 5. 25 becomes the dividend, and 5 times, this is 25. Subtracting we get 0. So 5 is the HCF. So answer I can write down as HCF of 50, 125 and 180 is 5. Let's take another example. Example 8. So find HCF of 169, 234 and 182. So I'll take first 2 numbers. A smaller one is the divisor and the larger one is the dividend. So we have 1 time 169. Subtracting I get 5 and 6, then dividing this by 169 and this goes 2 times. So we have 130. Subtracting we have 9 and 3, then 65 becomes the dividend, the previous divisor. This goes 1 time 39 and this we get 26 here. Then this becomes the divisor and the previous divisor becomes the dividend. 1 time minus 26, 3, 1, 26 and 2 times. So this is 26 minus and we get the remainder 0. So we can see HCF of 169 and 234 is equal to 13, which is the last divisor. Now we need to find the HCF of 13 and the third number is 182. So the smaller number is the divisor, larger number is the dividend. So we get 1 time 13 and 52. So 4 times 52, subtracting we get 0. So answer I can write down as HCF of 169, 234 and 182 is 13. Let's take another example. Example 9. So find HCF of 136, 170 and 255. So we'll take the first two numbers. So 136 becomes the divisor and 170 becomes the dividend. So on dividing we get 1 time 136. So we have 4 here and 3. The previous divisor 136 becomes the dividend. We have 4 times and 136. So we get the remainder 0. So therefore HCF of 136 and 170 is equal to 34, the last divisor. Now we need to find the HCF of 34 and 255. So the smaller number becomes the divisor and 255 is the dividend. So we get 7 times 8, 3 and 2. So 7 here and 1. So now the previous divisor becomes the dividend. 2 times 34 minus 0. Right? So now 17 is the HCF. Therefore answer the HCF of 136, 170 and 255 is equal to 17. Let's take another example. Example 10. So find HCF of 1050, 750 and 425. So we'll start with the first two numbers. The smaller one becomes the divisor, larger one becomes the dividend, and on dividing it goes 1 times 750, subtracting we get 300, then 750 becomes the dividend, the previous divisor. 2 times 600, subtracting we get 150. This becomes the divisor and the previous divisor becomes the dividend. 2 times 300, subtracting we get 0. So HCF of 750 and 1050 is equal to 150 here. Okay, now we have to find the HCF of 150 and 425. The smaller one, larger one becomes the dividend, 425. So we have 2 times, this is equal to 300, subtracting we get 125 and 150, the previous divisor becomes the dividend, and this is 1 time. So 125, here we have subtracting 25 and 125, this goes 5 times. So 125, subtracting we get 0. So therefore I can say the answer HCF of 1050, 750 and 425 is 25. Let's take another example, the last example. So we need to find the HCF of 891, 1215 and 1377. So taking first two numbers, the smaller one is this, becomes the divisor, and the larger one becomes the dividend. So this goes one time. 891 subtracting, we get 4, 2 and 3. Now the previous divisor becomes the dividend, and this goes 2 times. So we have 6, 4, 8 subtracting, we get 3 and 4 and 2, and the previous divisor becomes the dividend here. This goes by 1 time. So we have minus 243, subtracting, we get 1 and 8. The previous divisor becomes the dividend, and this goes 3 times. So 243, and the remainder is 0. HCF of 891 and 1215 is 81. Now we need to find the HCF of 81 and 1377. The smaller one is the divisor and the larger one is the dividend. One time we have 81 subtracting 6 and 5, 7 to be taken down, and we get 7 times 7 and 56. So subtracting, we get 0. So 81 is the HCF. So therefore answer I can write down HCF of 891, 1215 and 1377 is 81.
So we have done enough examples and you have understood it well. And still, if you have any queries, please let me know in the comments section and I'll be glad to solve them. For more concepts, stay tuned and see you all